Welcome to Revenge Lollipop. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Knock at Midnight. It was just past midnight when I heard the knock. Not loud, not desperate. Just hollow, almost afraid. I opened the door, already half asleep, expecting maybe a neighbor or a late-night delivery mistake. But it was her, ALINA, my twin, and she looked nothing like the girl I grew up with. She had one arm wrapped around her ribs, a hoodie pulled low over her bruised cheek, and eyes that wouldn't meet mine. I didn't even ask. I just pulled her inside and locked the door. She collapsed into my arms without a word. I felt her shaking. I could smell blood and fear on her, and that's when I knew. Without asking, without needing a story, he'd done it again. It wasn't the first time she ran, but this time, she looked like she wasn't planning on going back. I helped her to the couch, peeled back her hoodie, and nearly choked. A purple bruise ran down her jaw, and her lip had a split that looked days old. He hadn't just lost control. He'd made a routine out of it. "ALINA," I whispered, brushing her hair back. "You don't have to go back." She shook her head. "I can't do this anymore, Maya. I thought I could change him. I thought if I stayed quiet enough, cooked enough, smiled enough." Her voice broke. "I thought love could fix him. It took everything in me not to drive to that man's house that night and break something he loved the way he broke her. But instead I took her hand. 'No more hiding,' I said. 'We fix this. But not your way this time, mine.'" She looked at me the first time she'd really looked at me that night. And I saw something in her eyes. Relief, terror, and something else. Hope. Chapter 2. A Dangerous Plans by Morning. I had made up my mind. ALINA was still asleep on my couch, curled into the corner like she was afraid to take up too much space. I watched her chest rise and fall, trying to imagine the nightmare she'd lived with for the past 3 years. Her husband Darren had isolated her from us slowly. First, fewer phone calls. Then missed birthdays. Finally, silence. Now I knew why. I stood in front of the mirror, brushing out my hair. We had the same eyes, the same voice, same height. But I was sharper emotionally and otherwise. I'd spent the last decade standing up for myself. ALINA had spent it being torn down. And that was exactly why this would work. When she woke, I made her tea, sat down beside her and said, "I want to switch places." She blinked. "What?" "Just for a little while. I'll go to your house as you."
"I'll look him in the eye and give him one chance to confess."
"To prove what he is. And if he doesn't," her lips parted. "Maya, that's dangerous. You don't know him like I do. That's exactly why I have to do it. Because I'm not scared of him." She looked down. Her hands were trembling. "You don't have to be brave anymore," I told her gently. "Let me carry this. Just for now." I said nothing. Just nodded like the obedient wife he thought I was. But inside, I was counting the seconds. He had no idea who he'd just insulted. And tomorrow? He'd learn. Chapter 3. The evidence he gave me himself. The next morning I woke up before him. I crept around the house, placing 2 more tiny recording devices. ALINA had hidden from him. During her marriage, one an event near the kitchen, another under the edge of the couch. I made coffee. Just how he liked it. Bitter and black. I placed it in front of him without a word. He grunted. Darren didn't notice anything. He never had to. That was his luxury, being the kind of man who believed no one would ever dare challenge him. But this time, he'd invited the wrong woman into his home, and he handed me all the proof I needed. It started small, a snapped order to clean the bathroom. Again because he smelled bleach, not lemons. A nasty comment about how I was too quiet now, followed by a threatening glance. I kept nodding, flinching where appropriate, eyes downcast. Then he slipped. "I don't like this act you're pulling," he growled at lunch. "That sad limping wife thing, pathetic. You cry and crawl, but you'll never leave. You're nothing without me." The camera, now hidden behind the fruit bowl, caught every word. I kept my expression soft, neutral. But inside, I felt my sister's rage, pain, and exhaustion surge through me. By evening, he was drunk. That's when the real Darren always came out. He grabbed my arm tight. "You think you're safe just because I haven't hit you today?" I looked at him, dead in the eyes, and smiled. That's when he faltered. "What?" I leaned close and whispered, "You're going to regret every bruise you ever left on her." He blinked, and that was the first time he noticed. I wasn't ALINA. I was the storm he never saw coming. Before he could react, I stepped back and tapped my phone. A red light blinked from the counter. Recording saved. Upload scheduled. Destination police lawyer media backup. Darren lunged for the phone, but I was faster. I had trained for this my whole life, not in combat, but in survival. And I knew something he didn't. I was willing to burn it all down. "You're done," I said calmly. "The police already have the recordings." "And ALINA? She's not your shadow anymore." He stood there shaking, fists clenched. But for once he didn't lift them. Because I wasn't the broken woman he used to dominate. I was her sister, and I came with fire. Chapter 4. The arrest and her freedom? He didn't move for a second. Darren stood there, fists clenched, red in the face, twitching between rage and panic. He wasn't afraid of my words, not yet. But the calm in my voice? That rattled him. Abusers like Darren feed off fear. The silence, the submission, the flinching. But I stared back like a mirror he couldn't break. Then came the knock at the door. 3 short taps, the sound of control shifting. His head whipped toward it. "Who is that?" I didn't answer. Just crossed my arms. Another knock, this one louder. He stumbled to the door, yanked it open. 2 officers stood on the porch. Behind them was a woman in a tan coat with a clipboard and sharp eyes. "Detective Lacey Nguyen, Darren Klein," she asked. He blinked. Yeah. "We have multiple recordings, eyewitness accounts, and testimony related to allegations of spousal abuse, my coercive control and aggravated threats. You are under arrest." He laughed. "You're joking. You don't even have proof." The detective stepped aside. A 3rd officer approached, holding a tablet playing the audio. Loud and clear. "You think you're safe just because I haven't hit you today?" His face drained of color. "No, wait, that's taken out of context." The judge listened to the recordings, the testimony, the photos of bruises and medical reports. Then came the sentence, 5 years. Not forever, but enough to give her back her life. ALINA cried in the hallway afterward. Not because she was sad, but because she was finally free. She moved into a new place, started therapy, got a job at a shelter helping other women escape what she had survived. She wore bright colors again, laughed without apologizing. And every time she called me, she sounded a little more like herself. As for me, I never regretted switching places. Because sometimes the only way to fight back is to stop being afraid to take up space. And when the world turns its back on someone you love, you become their shadow, their voice, their sword, until they remember how to stand on their own again. The officers didn't care. They cuffed him. "You can't do this. She's my wife." He yelled, eyes wild as they let him out. From the couch, I called out, "No, she was your prisoner. Now she's free." The door shut behind him, and silence fell. I sank into the chair. Every part of me was shaking. Not with fear, but release. It was over. The officers didn't care. They cuffed him. "You can't do this. She's my wife." He yelled, eyes wild as they let him out. From the couch, I called out, "No, she was your prisoner. Now she's free." The door shut behind him, and silence fell. I sank into the chair. Every part of me was shaking. Not with fear, but release. It was over. Later that evening, I drove to my apartment where ALINA had been staying. She was curled up on the balcony, blanket around her, watching the city. I sat beside her. "He's gone," she blinked. "Gone?" "Arrested. He'll have charges. Probably jail time." She didn't speak. I reached into my coat and placed the ring she had given me. Her wedding ring in her palm. She stared at it, then tossed it off the edge of the balcony without a word. We both listened. There was no sound as it hit the ground. Just silence and healing. "I couldn't have done this without Yoon," she said. I looked at her. "No, but you'll live without him. And that's the only thing that matters."